Hey guys, this is Jay at Auto Exotica. And you may remember we did a little thing called the 2 to 100k challenge back during COVID when that was a thing. The whole idea was to take a car that cost less than 2 grand, fix it up, buy it cheap, sell it for a profit, and rinse and repeat and keep flipping cars until we got to a car that cost 100 grand and that we could sell for over 100 grand. And it was partly just a fun challenge because it's much how I started off here in Auto Exotica, selling bunkies and whatever cars I could pick up, parting them out, selling them, fixing them, trying to make a little bit of money, making a heap of mistakes, and getting to the point where the cars became nicer, eventually more sporty, more luxury, more exotic. And it was just a fun way to relive that, even though the markets have moved so much in the last 10 years or so. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. We started off with a little Volvo C30. We went into a Megane 225, so we went from 2 grand to 5 grand. Then we bought the Megane in a Clio and made another 6-7k profit. We put that into a 350Z, which we made profit on, but we had to help the buyer out with a couple of issues that became evident after selling it, just to do the right thing. And I don't like anyone feeling like they're not doing well out of the deal. So we lost a bit of profit on that one, but then we put it into a couple of other things that came along, eventually ending up in a Maserati Coupe, a Holden Monaro, a BMW M3. Is we just stopped documenting it all when it sort of blurred into just becoming business as normal. So we picked up this car, or I picked up this car for someone, I sourced it for them. They changed their mind, so all of a sudden it was a sub 2k car, the universe provided, and it was a perfect start point for another 2 to 100k challenge. But what the hell is it? It's French, it's 3 doors, and it's a little hatchback. It is, of course, a Citroen C2, which I really don't see many of here in Australia. In the UK, you grow up in it all around. But it's the beauty of the hot hatch, and it's what I love. When you're 17 in the UK or most of Europe, you lust after hot hatches because it becomes the affordable way into a performance car, one of your first performance. And the Citroen C2 epitomizes that. They took a mundane Citroen hatchback, and then, just like they did with the Saxo, they chucked a 1.6 litre engine in, which was fairly big for such a tiny car. It was revvy, it put out 125 horsepower or so, which propelled it from 0 to 100 k's an hour or 60 miles an hour in about 7.5 seconds. Now, by today's standard, that's not fast, but it's not that slow either. I mean, you have to spend 75 grand on a Civic Type R to get into the 5 seconds sort of mark. So when you think you can pick up these in ropier condition for 2 grand, in good condition 6 or 7 grand, I don't even think I remember seeing a BTS for sale in Australia for some time. I've heard it mentioned that there is 800 or so left in the world. I find that kind of hard to believe, but I'm not sure. But this car was sold by an absolute legend named Rick, and it is so lovely buying a car from a car enthusiast, because you get to join in some of their memories about it, what they planned on doing, events they went to, conversations they had, what they found as they worked on the car. I don't like buying a car unless it comes from an enthusiast, which sometimes can't be the best way to get a deal, but it is a lot of fun. And just when you drive something like this, it's just for you. You take it out, it's fun, you throw it about a little bit. It's not quite as dynamic as the Clio 182 that we had, but it's also not the same price. And again, it's just an experience for you because you rev the nuts off of it, you throw it around, and there's none of the wank factor and the show that comes with driving a supercar. You can't pull up in a Lambo or McLaren without someone either thinking something, saying something, or taking your picture for Instagram or something. This, you fly under the radar, you even get the odd funny look that's reminiscent of what you used to get when you were like 17 years old. And I love that. Absolutely love that. It's got a little key shooter out the back, so it's got an aftermarket exhaust, it's got drilled and slotted rotors. It is, of course, has got a 1.6 litre 16 valve engine, which lives in here, which is in condition. It's nice and tidy. It's not the biggest, it's not the most powerful, but it's plenty to do the job. It's also got a little cam belt sticker. So the cam belt was done just 3 or 4 years ago, which, you know, is brilliant. I can't make out what the mileage is on it. It starts with a 9, I think. So it was under 40,000 Ks ago, which means it's probably still good for another 40,000 Ks or another couple of years. Exactly what you want when you're trying to get yourself a good buy. But let's take a closer look around. Do hang about, subscribe, and stick around so you can see the rest of the challenge, which is going to come in the months ahead. We're going to change this into something like a Boxster, a 911 maybe. Maybe we'll even get a budget Ferrari. Who knows? But it's an exciting start. Let's go.
Let's face it, for a couple of grand, you can't expect too much. But let's also face it, you can't really get much car for less than 5 grand in good shape with decent kilometers on it these days. So there should be a little bit of mileage in this, excuse the pun. Now, looking around it, it's generally pretty tidy. That bonnet does shut, I'm just extremely lazy, but let's have a look. And there is the 1.6 16 valve engine in all of its 120 horsepower glory. And yeah, look, other than some dodgy wiring by someone that's thrown a sub in the boot, it's actually fairly tidy. I mean, you can't really expect much more. The oil's clean, the coolant's clean. And check it out, we've even got a cam belt sticker, which was done in November of 2020, so it's about 4 years ago. Can't make out what that is, it could be anything. But it looks like that might be an 8 or a 9, so let's call it 80,000-90,000 kilometers. Probably means it's got another 20 to 30,000 before it's due again, so that's a good sign. These headlights will need polishing up. It's not a problem. Got a few scrapes. We can get that up with some play bar. Probably have to do some touch-ups around here. It's all one colour, which is a nice feature. Roof is a little bit glazed, but that's nothing that we can't polish up and save. It's probably just on the cusp of being salvageable, so we might have to wrap it in some paint protection film or maybe even some vinyl. We do have some blue vinyl over there, which kind of resembles the Citroen blue. I think it could look pretty good, but I don't know if I want to spend the time completely wrapping this car. I don't know if I have the time to do that. I mean, yeah, a couple of bits of wear, but there's no real big tears. I'm sure we can get that absolute grime off there and make these seats come up like new. It's fairly tidy. This is aftermarket, clearly an Alpine unit, or Alpine if you want to go French, and from what I understand, the person that put this in completely bodged the cabling at the back. There's an adapter that you can install, and a lot of people just don't bother because they can't be bothered. It's really frustrating because in this car, obviously it disables all your steering controls, but is also led to the window fuses blowing and a couple of electrical niggles. The switch for the wiper fluid is now under here somewhere, apparently. You can see some non-factory cabling, but of course it does have 3 pedals, which is nice. Let's face it, for a couple of grand, so you can't expect too much. But let's also face it, you can't really get much car for less than 5 grand in good shape with decent kilometers on it these days. So there should be a little bit of mileage in this, excuse the pun.
It actually doesn't sound too bad.
Look around it, it's generally that bonnet does shut.
It's not exactly
extremely lazy, but
ooh,
have a look. And there is the 1.6 16.
it's not exactly the quickest
engine on the spool up, but it'll do. Looks like we've got some goodies in there to go through. It's even got books. Don't know how many stamps are in there, but we'll soon find out. The back seats are as tiny as you'd expect, but I did manage to get the entire set of spare rims in there, because as you can see, these are Peugeot rims that are on there. Actually look a little bit better, they suit the car well. There's that little pea shooter at the back, creating all that ruckus that you can hear. And this is actually kind of cool. A lot of people don't like the split boot because it makes a little bit more road noise and rattles, but it means you have a nice small boot lid to open up rather than taking up all that space, which means you can park in tighter spots and still access your boot, which is kind of useless in this car because they put a massive sub in it. They're my kind of guys. The split tail was actually pretty cool. You've even got some storage in here, maximum 100 kilos, so I can actually sit here, do up my shoes, or take in the views. It's a cool little feature that I didn't really expect. I actually didn't realise they had this. The whole car weighs a little bit under a ton. And it's actually kind of a breath of fresh air having such a lightweight car. So here's our first 2 to 100k challenge contender that will get us off to a kickstart. I reckon we can tidy this up and probably move it on for about 5k, maybe 6k at a push, if we do some subtle little improvements without spending too much money. It's sitting nicely already. It actually presents quite nicely. A couple of little bits to tidy up. The main problem is going to be these electronics, so we'll have to gut that radio, restore the wiring loom, get an adapter, see if we can get the controls working, stop the fuses blowing. These are LEDs, so they sort of flash out of sequence a bit too quick. So yeah, those little electrical gremlins we'll sort out. Comes with a plethora of keys. You've got the original center caps there for the wheels in the back, which, you know, are pretty plain, but they do the job. So we've got options there. Yeah, I think it's a pretty tidy buy, so I can't wait to see how we get on with this one. I'd love to hear your suggestions on what we should target next for about the £6,000 mark. I've got some ideas myself. I kind of want to avoid doing another WRX because the £6,000 WRX becomes a £10,000 WRX real quick. But 350Z again, we did that before, managed to get a nice cheap one. Don't know.
So that's purchase number 1 in the 2 to 100k challenge. So make sure you subscribe, follow along as we replicate, go through the process of scaling a car buying and selling business. It'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll learn a few things along the way. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what cars we come across along the way. So do like, subscribe, make sure you follow along. I'll be trying to update not only little things that go right and wrong with this little hot hatch behind me, but planning on what we're going to target next, what we buy next, and yeah, just see what that end car ends up being. I'd love to hear your suggestions on where we should end up. I'd love to see like a Ferrari 360 or something. I think nowadays they start at about 130 for a ropey one, so we might just get there. Alternatively, I don't know, you tell me. Do we end up in another 911? Do we end up in something in AMG flavour? Don't know. The possibilities are endless, so it's really exciting. Let's see where we go. Until next time.
After all, starting at £2,000 cars ended up in a McLaren.